Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4, so our topic is about cultures of the South in America. So my name is Muhammad Azim bin Hafizul. So we move to introduction of cultures in South. So basically, all South is used to describe the rural and agriculturally based economy and the society in the antebellum South. So we also can say that there are slave states that existed in 1776, such as states like Maryland, Virginia, and Georgia. Or we can call as slave states before 1860, which is included the newer states such as like Kentucky, Tennessee, and also Louisiana and other states. So the people in cultures, the people in the South, we can say as the first human or people in the South is a Native American. So there was a curse around 9500 BC, and the earliest documented Americans or native as referred as the Paleo Indians. Okay, next this is a picture when the European immigrant or settlers came to the America and deal with the Native Americans about the economy and socially. So we move to history of the southern cultures. So Old South is the US states in the southern United States that were among the group of 13 British colonies, which declared the independence in 1776 and formed the states of United States of America. So they have a two region in South America, South United States of America, which is Deep South and Upper South. So Deep South consists of states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida, while in Upper South, the states such as like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Missouri. So Old South is used to describe the rural, agriculturally based economy and also the society in the antebellum South that prior to the 1861 until 65 American Civil War that happened in America. So many factors of culture in Southern life such as religion, politics, and also economy have give a lot of things to the Southern people. So what is the Old South? Old South, the pre-Civil War Americans regarded Southerners as a distinct people. So they possess their own values and the way of life. So 3 decades before the Civil War, some writers was create a stereotype to the Southern people. The Southern people and also the state itself. For example, like the plantation legend, there's to describe the South as a land of aristocratic planters, beautiful southern bells, and other stereotypes that related to the states. So the all South are more popular in slaves, such as like slave traders, everything about slaves, and a lot of black people in Southern. So that is in contrast with the New South in modern era, a slogan in the history of the American South after the American Civil War. So the reformer used it to call as a modernization of a society and attitudes. So they reject the economy and the tradition of the Old South and the slavery-based plantation system of the antebellum period. So between 1920s until 1950s, there was more than 1 million enslaved African that were transported to the Deep South, alright, in force of migration. So 2/3 of them were worked as a slave, or some of them were being slave traders, and the other masters who moved there and bought the slave itself. So the planters in the upper south sold the slaves excess to excess in needs as they shifted from tobacco to mixed agriculture. Many planters came to south, they changed their economy to a mixed agriculture to make a lot of production because they can get a lot of slaves in southern. So now we move to Antebellum South. So Antebellum South is a period in the history of southern United States of America from late 18th century until the start of the American Civil War in 1861. So this period in the South history was marked by the economic growth of the region. So it is largely due to the heavy reliance on slavery, and also they have a political influence on the US federal government. So it was characterized by the rise of abolition and the gradual polarization of the country between the abolitionists and also the supporters of slavery. So because of the slave traders, many enslaved families were broken up. So as the planters, they were preferred mostly strong males for field work. So that's why many of a slave family were broken up. Maybe one of them being a slave for the planters. So the second issue that concerns slavery, primarily the question of the whether why slavery would be permitted in the newly admitted states. It is because of initially finessed by a political compromises that they want to design the balance of the number in free and slave states. So they want the number of a free states and the slave states become balanced in terms of number. So this is a picture about the cotton gill. So the cotton gill was introduced by Eli Whitney in the 1790s. So because of the cotton gill, the slavery grew a lot of profitable, and that the large plantation system was being developed. Because at the time, cotton production was a very major commodities for the southern economy. So the southern economy was characterized by a low level of a capital accumulation, which is largely labor-based, and a shortage of a liquid capital. So that's a lead of the South to be dependent on export trade. So the southern domestic market consisted primarily of plantation. The five major commodities of the southern agriculture economy, they have a five, which is cotton, grain, tobacco, sugar, and rice. So these five was a major commodities for the southern economy. Southern states also imported the sustenance commodity from the west and also manufactured goods from the north, with the production of the leading cash crop, cotton, that concentrate in the deep south such as Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. These three states was being the top states in deep south to be in agriculture production. So we move to the political party that has been available in southern. So they have a two party system, which is the Whigs and Democrats. So the Whigs are most strongest in towns because they have a business community, and also there was upscale plantation areas, while the Democrats were strongest among common farmers and poor western district. So the religion that have in the southern. So before the American Revolution happened, the Church of England was established in some areas, especially in the district of Virginia and South Carolina. So most of the southern church members use their religion for intense group solidarity, which often involve intimate examinations of the sins and also failures of their fellow parishioners. So which is they more focus in the afterlife period. Alright, so the religion also serve a temporary relief. So they have a promise, a permanent relief from all the hardship and oppression of this world, which is they are more to a ritual things. But the missionary activity was a very controversial issue in the South. But they have get a strong support from missionary, mostly among Methodists. But the Baptist itself against the missionary activity. So they have two teams or in a religion in the southern between Methodist and Baptist. Baptist more to the real English church teaching rather than Methodist. They love to have a missionaries to engage the people. So the colonies refused to allow any Anglican bishop and actual practicing laymen comprised of each Anglican church. So they're making a policy determination as if the parish were a unit of local government. So after that, Church of England was established during the American Revolution. This from under the leadership of the very influenced people in United States of America, which is Thomas Jefferson and also James Madison. So the 80th century, they had the first Great Awakening, but the first Great Awakening not so strong like in the second Great Awakening. So the second Great Awakening happened in 1740 until 1840. So there was a powerful influence across the region, especially with the poor whites, but also with the black slave also involved. So there was the result was the establishment of many Methodist and Baptist churches. So in the antebellum period, a large number of open air revivals to convert the new members and to strengthen the resolve of established members. But in South, they never get more attention about this, only in North. But they have some district in South that get the Second Great Awakening, which is the district like Kentucky and Tennessee. They get the influence, but not so strong like what happened in North. So this is a picture when the Southern people in the Second Great of Awakening, the people came to watch how the representative from the church to give awareness about the Second Great Awakening that happened in southern part. So thank you very much.
My name is Muhammad Nabil. Today I will present about people and economy in southern United States. First point is people in southern. There are three major who live in South US, which were European, slave, and native. Firstly is Europe. European and their descendant was called white people. The first European who explored US was Spanish in 16th century. The first European who have permanent settlement in US was Britain in Jamestown, Virginia. Lately, many Europeans immigrate to southern part of United States because the big economic opportunity in which the exploitation of crops. Second is the wealth only passed to the elder son in Europe, and others must have effort to find income, in which only the elder has a right to take wealth from his father, and the other son must find a new job. So that's why they came to US to find a permanent job and good income. So this is the image of European descent who live in US, in which we can see that most of them live in South US. The second point is slave. First slave was brought in 1619 by the White Lion ship to British colony in Jamestown, Virginia in the United States. Slave became more demanded after crops business popular due to high demand in industry. They wanted a permanent worker, in which slave was the most suitable for this job. They started to sell Africans who became slaves. In 1790, the population of black people, which is slave, was 1/3 of southern population. Between 1774 and 1804, the North was abolished the slavery, but the South still continued the slavery. How slave was treated? First, slave woman became a sexual tool to her master and also worked at plantation. In Southern, slave man was not the only one who worked. but women also must work. Second is the slave who obedient will reward with favor. Last, the slave who rebellious will be cruelly punished. The title of black people refer to slave. The image show that how slaves work, in which they must do a heavy work. Meanwhile, white people also work but not do a heavy work, and some of them a supervisor to a slave. The next image was a slave after being harshly punished, and it leaves a big scar. The third point is native. Indians refer to the indigenous people in United States. Native American was the original inhabitant in US before the coming of European. Means they are the origin owner of the land. After the coming of European in 16th century, many natives died because of the disease that never been exposed to them that brought by European. So this is the biggest factor of lower population for native. Their life continued with conflict and became the victim of war between American and European in 17th and 18th century. Due to this, their population will slowly decrease. So in 19th century, the remaining tribes, which were Creek, Cherokee, Choctaw, and Chickasaw, merged with Seminoles in order to survive and protect their tribes. They are known as five civilized tribes. The natives tried to adopt a new environment without changes much of their traditional culture, and they own a land. This is for their economic or income, because at that time money was using for everything. The greedy of Euro-American lead to steal native land for their own benefit with conflict and war. Lastly, the native did not have anything and must leave their traditional system with following the US rule as citizen. Means that the native has lost their right to select their leader. Only the federal who have power to appoint the leader of tribes. This is the image of Native American tribes. Move on to the next topic, which is economy in southern US. In southern, the warm climate and fertile soil were suitable for agriculture activities. So, the suitable economy was an agriculture economy. There were many crops plantation such as cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugarcane. The most popular was tobacco and cotton. The slavery still implemented in South, and it is the biggest slave trade in US. The advantage or benefit of the economy in South were to provide more job opportunity, to gain more profit due to high demand in industry. The first crop is tobacco. The tobacco was introduced by the native to European. John Hawkins, who was brought the tobacco to Europe in 1565, and this became popular product in Europe. So this is the beginning of tobacco selling. Tobacco can comfort the limb, feel sleepy, reduce tiredness, and addicted. This is the reason why the tobacco is famous. In 1689, York River, Virginia, became the biggest production of tobacco in US. During American Revolution, the production of tobacco decreased sharply because they wanted to focus on food due to the war. The second most crop is cotton. The first cotton planted in Georgia in 1734. Georgia also the first state who promoted and sold the cotton. In the beginning of production, the cotton was less demanded due to high price in factor of production. The factor of production means here was the increasing cost in labor power. It changed after the invention of cotton gin in 1793. This new machine was separating the seed in cotton easily and faster. Before that, the separating seed in cotton was using hand. So the effect is the cotton demand that was increased sharply in industry due to cheap price. The image shows the situation in cotton field. The last trending economy in South is slavery. Slave trading still continued after the American Revolution. They were the backbone of the Southern economy because most of agriculture work was did by the slave. Either men or women worked to plant and harvest the crops. African slave was mostly sold. The price of a slave was increased if they were strong, young, and beauty. The image shows how the slave trade. So that's all my presentation and I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hamka bin Haizat. For my part, I will be presenting about Southern Colonies religion. Southern colonies were not dominated by a single religion, which gave way to more liberal attitudes and some religious freedom for the society. In general, majority in Southern colonies were Christians, but there were the denominations in Southern colonies such as Anglicans, Baptists, Catholics, Presbyterians, and others. Okay, now, why the denominations existed? The diversity of denomination existed because of the migration wave that happened during that time. Many immigrants came from various places such as Germany, England, Scotland, and Ireland. These people created a diversity in the southern region. Next, we will move to the next slide. The Anglican Church of England was officially established in most of the South. The southern colonies were almost exclusively Anglican Church of England because they were English colony, and that's why they were Anglican. The Anglican denomination means those with historical connections to the Church of England or similar belief, but they did not swear allegiance to the British monarch. For the Maryland colony, Maryland was founded by the Lord Baltimore, and Maryland was a haven for English Catholic. So that's why Maryland is different from other colony. In general, the plantation south permitted a good deal of religious freedom. The southern colonies had the greatest degree of religious tolerance compared to the northern colonies. Cash crop did not leave time for strict religious practices. So people mainly came to the region not for religious freedom, but to turn over a quick profit. Now we will move on to the southern accent. The development of the southern accent occurred over hundreds of years. This is because primarily from the older varieties of British English spoken by those who initially settled the area. We all know that the southern colonies were English colonies, so they mainly speak English. And the southern accent originated mostly from a mix of immigrants from the British Isles who moved to the American South, and also Creole. Creole is mix Creole is a mixture from of Europe and African, and people call it Creole. For the minor African elements in the southern accent, it was introduced by an African slave that been brought from the African continent to the New World. The Southerners are typically more laid back, and that is reflected in the speech, which has drawn out vowel sounds. The most famous Southern expression is y'all, which is an abbreviation for you all. For example, listen up, y'all. That is the example for the expression. Another example is I'm going to. The Southerners did not speak I going to. They will use I'm gonna to. Gonna is mean going. Now we will move to the different types of Southern accents. There are two types of Southern accent. The first is coastal or lowland Southern English. This can be thought of as the classic Southern accent. The second one is inland or mountain Southern English. This is the dialect often heard from people living in areas like Appalachia. Appalachia is a mountainous area in the Virginia colony. Next is Southern cuisine. The wealthy dine on roast beef and many other types of meat, but while the poorer classes, servants and slaves, eat more humble foods such as cornbread, greens, pork, fried chicken, and organ meats. So the wealthy people eat for enjoy, but the poorer people eat for survive. There is a differences between wealthy and poorer society in the southern colonies. In conclusion, southern colonies play a big role in the formation modern state of America or United States today. The diversity in the various aspects such as religion, society, and culture create a unique identity for the Southerners. That's all from our group. Thank you.